The words hit Simone Williams like a slap across her perfectly made-up face. She looked up from her laptop screen, her morning latte growing cold in her manicured hands, and stared at the small figure standing beside her table. A little girl, maybe 8 years old, with tangled brown hair and tears streaming down her cheeks. Her school backpack hung from one shoulder, and her pink sneakers were scuffed and dirty. She was trembling, and her big brown eyes held a desperation that made Simone's stomach clench. "Excuse me?" Simone whispered, certain she had misheard. "Please marry my dad," the child repeated, her voice breaking. "He's all I have left and I think he's dying inside. I think he needs someone like you to save us." The upscale coffee shop buzzed with the usual morning crowd of business professionals, but Simone felt like the world had stopped spinning. This couldn't be happening. Not here, not now, not when she had the biggest presentation of her career in 2 hours. Simone Williams was the youngest marketing executive at Preston & Associates, a Fortune 500 company where she'd climbed every rung of the corporate ladder through sheer determination. At 32, she owned a corner office on the 42nd floor, drove a BMW, and had never met a challenge she couldn't conquer. Children approaching her with marriage proposals definitely wasn't in her business plan. "Sweetheart," Simone said gently, closing her laptop. "Where are your parents?" "My mom died 2 years ago," the girl said matter-of-factly, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. "Cancer. And my dad, he tries to be okay but I can see it in his eyes. He's sad all the time even when he smiles. He doesn't sleep good, and sometimes I hear him crying when he thinks I'm asleep." Simone's heart twisted. She glanced around the coffee shop, looking for a panicked parent or guardian, but saw only busy professionals buried in their phones and newspapers. "What's your name?" Simone asked. "Emma Carter. I'm in 3rd grade at Lincoln Elementary." Emma sniffled. "I saw you here yesterday and the day before. You look important and strong, like someone who could take care of people. My dad needs someone like that." "Emma, honey, marriage isn't something you arrange for other people." "But my mom did." Emma interrupted, her voice rising with emotion. "Before she died, she made me promise to take care of Daddy. She said I needed to make sure he didn't stay sad forever. She said he deserved to love someone again." The words hung in the air between them, and Simone felt her carefully constructed morning routine crumbling. She'd built her life on control, on knowing exactly what to expect each day. This little girl with her impossible request had just thrown all of that out the window. "I've been watching you," Emma continued, settling into the chair across from Simone without invitation. "You're here every morning at exactly 7:30. You always order the same thing and you're always working on important stuff. You dress like my mom used to when she had her good days, all pretty and put together." Simone touched her navy blue blazer self-consciously. "Emma, I'm flattered, but—" "My dad is really good," Emma said quickly, as if sensing Simone's hesitation. "He makes the best pancakes in the whole world and he reads me stories every night even when he's tired from work. He teaches high school and all his students love him because he actually cares about them. He coaches basketball too, even though they don't pay him extra for it." The desperation in Emma's voice was growing stronger. "He's handsome too. All the teachers at school think so. Mrs. Peterson from the front office always brings him cookies and tries to fix her hair when he walks by. But he doesn't notice because he's still too sad about Mom." Simone's throat felt tight. "Emma, I understand you want your father to be happy." "He won't date anyone," Emma said, tears flowing freely now. "I heard Grandma talking to him on the phone last week. She said he needed to move on, that Mom wouldn't want him to be alone forever. But he said he couldn't even think about it. He said he didn't know how to be with someone new." The little girl leaned forward, her eyes pleading. "That's why I thought of you. You're not new. I've seen you here lots of times. And you look like someone who knows how to fix things. My dad needs fixing." Simone felt completely out of her depth. She dealt with million-dollar marketing campaigns and boardroom negotiations, not heartbroken children playing matchmaker for their grieving fathers. "Emma, where is your dad right now?" "He's coming to pick me up. I told him I needed to stop somewhere on the way to school." Emma wiped her eyes. "Please don't leave. I want him to meet you. Maybe if he sees how nice you are, he'll understand that it's okay to not be sad anymore." Before Simone could respond, the coffee shop door chimed, and a man's voice called out urgently. "Emma. Emma Carter, where are you?" Emma's face lit up despite her tears. "That's him. That's my dad." Simone turned toward the door and felt her breath catch. A tall man with dark hair and worried blue eyes was scanning the coffee shop frantically. He was wearing jeans and a button-down shirt that looked like he'd thrown it on in a hurry. Even from across the room, she could see the exhaustion in his shoulders and the fear in his expression. There. Emma waved her hand. Daddy, over here. The man's eyes found them, and his face went through a series of emotions: relief, confusion, and then mortification as he realized his daughter was bothering a stranger. He hurried over to their table, and Simone found herself face to face with the man whose marriage proposal she'd just received from his 8-year-old daughter. This was definitely not how she'd planned to start her Tuesday morning. Emma Rose Carter, what on earth are you doing? The man's voice was gentle but firm as he approached their table. His eyes darted between his daughter and Simone, clearly trying to assess the situation. Daddy? Emma jumped up from her chair. This is the lady I was telling you about. The one who comes here every morning. Isn't she pretty? Simone felt heat rise in her cheeks as the man's blue eyes met hers. Up close, she could see the worry lines around his eyes and the exhaustion that Emma had mentioned. But she could also see kindness there and genuine concern for his daughter. I am so sorry, he said to Simone, running a hand through his hair. Emma, you can't just walk up to strangers and bother them. This lady is trying to work. I wasn't bothering her, Emma protested. We were having a very important conversation about feelings and stuff. Simone stood up, smoothing her skirt. It's okay, really. She wasn't bothering me. It wasn't entirely true, but the man looked mortified enough already. I'm Ryan Carter, he said, extending his hand. And this is my daughter Emma, who apparently has no sense of boundaries when it comes to talking to strangers. Simone Williams, she replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm and warm, and she noticed the slight calluses that suggested he worked with his hands as well as his mind. I told you her name was pretty, Emma said proudly. See, Daddy? I was right about everything. Ryan's eyebrows furrowed in confusion. Right about what? Emma looked between her father and Simone with the satisfied expression of someone who just successfully completed a difficult mission. About her being perfect for you. Emma? Ryan's face turned red. What did you say to this poor woman? Simone couldn't help but smile at his obvious distress. She made me a very interesting proposition. Oh God, Ryan muttered, closing his eyes. I'm afraid to ask. She asked me to marry you, Simone said simply. The silence that followed was deafening. Ryan opened his eyes and stared at his daughter, who was beaming as if she'd just announced she'd won the lottery. You did what? Ryan's voice came out as a squeak. I asked her to marry you, Emma repeated cheerfully. Because you're sad all the time and she looks like someone who could make you happy again. Like Mom used to. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Simone, I am so incredibly sorry. I don't know what's gotten into her. Emma, we've talked about this. You can't just. It's okay, Simone interrupted, surprised to find that she meant it. She's worried about you. That's actually kind of sweet. Ryan looked at her with surprise. You're not calling security? Should I be? Simone asked with a small smile. No. No, absolutely not. Ryan sat down heavily in Emma's abandoned chair. This is not how I imagined my morning going. Mine either, Simone admitted, sitting back down. But Emma made some very compelling arguments about your pancake-making abilities. Despite his embarrassment, Ryan's mouth twitched with the beginning of a smile. She told you about the pancakes? And the bedtime stories? And the basketball coaching? Simone looked at Emma, who was practically vibrating with excitement. She's quite the little advocate. She's quite the little pain in the neck sometimes, Ryan said, but his voice was full of love as he looked at his daughter. Emma, you cannot go around asking random women to marry me. Do you understand that? She's not random, Emma protested. I've been watching her for weeks. She's very responsible. She always gets here at exactly 7:30, and she always has her work organized in neat piles. Plus, she's beautiful and she has kind eyes. Simone felt an unexpected warmth at the compliment. Thank you, Emma. That's very sweet. Ryan rubbed his forehead. I'm going to die of embarrassment. I swear this kid is going to be the death of me. Don't be embarrassed, Simone said gently. It's clear she loves you very much. She just wants you to be happy. I am happy, Ryan said automatically, then caught himself. We're doing fine. We don't need. You do too need, Emma interrupted. You think I don't notice, but I do. You get that sad look when you think I'm not watching. And you never laugh like you used to when Mom was here. The honesty in the child's voice hit both adults like a punch to the gut. Ryan's expression softened, and Simone felt her heart squeeze with sympathy. Honey, Ryan said quietly. We've talked about this. It's okay for people to be sad sometimes. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. But it's been 2 years, Daddy. Grandma says Mom wouldn't want you to be sad forever. Ryan glanced at Simone apologetically. I'm sorry you're having to hear all this. Family drama isn't exactly great coffee shop entertainment. Actually, Simone said slowly, I think Emma might be onto something. Both Ryan and Emma stared at her. Not about the marriage thing, Simone clarified quickly, but about you deserving to be happy. She's right about that. Ryan's eyes darkened. You don't know anything about my situation. No, I don't, Simone agreed. But I know what it looks like when someone's carrying too much weight on their shoulders. And I know what it looks like when someone loves their parent enough to ask a complete stranger for help. Emma nodded vigorously. See? She gets it. Ryan looked between them, clearly out of his depth. This is all very nice, but we should probably get going. Emma's going to be late for school. Wait. Emma grabbed Simone's hand. Can I have your phone number? You know, for emergencies. Emma, Ryan warned. Just in case, Emma said innocently. Like if Daddy gets sick or something and needs help. Simone looked at Ryan, who was shaking his head frantically. Then she looked back at Emma's hopeful face, and before she could stop herself, she was reaching for her business card. Here, she said, handing it to Emma. But this is just for real emergencies, okay? Emma studied the card carefully. Simone Williams, Senior Marketing Executive, Preston and Associates. Wow, that sounds really important. It is important, Simone said. Just like taking care of your dad is important. Thank you, Emma whispered, clutching the card to her chest. Ryan stood up, looking defeated. Come on, Em. We really do need to get you to school. As they gathered Emma's backpack, Simone found herself not wanting them to leave. Ryan. He turned back to her, eyebrows raised. For what it's worth, I think you're doing a great job. Emma's lucky to have you. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, gratitude, maybe a little hope. Thank you. That means a lot. And Emma? Simone called as they headed toward the door. Yes. Your dad's lucky to have you too. Emma beamed, and even Ryan smiled as they left the coffee shop. Simone watched them through the window as they walked down the street together, Emma skipping beside her father while clutching Simone's business card. She had no idea that her carefully ordered life was about to change completely. 3 days later, Simone found herself standing in the parking lot of Lincoln Elementary School, questioning every decision that had led her to this moment. She'd spent those 3 days trying to forget about Emma Carter and her desperate plea, but the little girl's words kept echoing in her mind. Her research had been thorough as always. Ryan Carter, 35 years old, high school English teacher and basketball coach at Lincoln High. His wife Jennifer had died of breast cancer 2 years ago, leaving him to raise Emma alone. The school district where he worked was underfunded, and according to the public record she'd found, he'd been working extra jobs to make ends meet. It had given her an idea. A business idea, she told herself firmly. Nothing more. Preston and Associates had been looking for community outreach opportunities, ways to improve their public image while actually making a difference. Educational funding was always a good investment, both financially and socially. The fact that it would help Ryan Carter was just a coincidence. At least that's what she kept telling herself. The elementary school was smaller than she'd expected, with peeling paint on the walls and playground equipment that had seen better days. As she walked toward the main entrance, she could hear children laughing and playing during their lunch recess. Miss Simone. Miss Simone. Simone turned to see Emma running toward her across the playground, her face lit up with joy. Several other children followed, curious about the well-dressed woman in the business suit. Emma, hi, Simone said, unable to keep from smiling. What are you doing outside? It's lunch recess, Emma said, slightly out of breath from running. What are you doing here? Did you come to see me? Did you come to see Daddy? Actually, I came to talk to your principal about a business matter, Simone said carefully. Emma's eyes widened. Are you going to give the school money? Because we really need new books. Mrs. Peterson says some of our books are older than she is, and she's really old. Emma, one of the other children gasped. You can't say that about teachers. It's true though, Emma said matter-of-factly. She told us herself. She's 47. Simone bit back a laugh. Well, I'm here to see if my company can help with some of the school's needs. But first, I need to talk to the grown-ups. Is my daddy here too? Emma asked hopefully. He works at the high school, sweetie, remember? Simone said gently. Oh yeah. Emma's face fell slightly, then brightened again. But you'll call him, right? You have his number now. I don't have his number, Emma. I only gave you my card. Oh. Emma looked thoughtful. Well, I can give you his number. He wrote it on my emergency contact form. Before Simone could stop her, Emma was digging through her backpack, pulling out crumpled papers and broken crayons until she found what she was looking for. Here, she said triumphantly, holding up a slightly sticky piece of paper. See? Ryan Carter and then his phone number. Emma, I can't just take your emergency contact information. It's okay, Emma said quickly. He told me I could give it to responsible adults if I ever needed help. And you're definitely responsible. You have a business card and everything. The school bell rang before Simone could protest further, and Emma quickly pressed the paper into her hand. I have to go back to class now, Emma said. But you'll call him, right? For business stuff. We'll see, Simone said, pocketing the paper without looking at it. Promise? Emma's eyes were wide and hopeful. I promise I'll think about it, Simone said carefully. Emma seemed satisfied with that answer and ran back toward the school building with her classmates. Simone watched her go, then took a deep breath and headed for the main office. The meeting with Principal Martinez went better than expected. The school district was indeed desperate for funding, particularly for their literacy programs and technology updates. When Simone explained that Preston and Associates was looking for local educational partnerships, Principal Martinez practically lit up. We have some excellent teachers who could help develop curricula, he said eagerly. Particularly our high school English department. Ryan Carter, for instance, has some innovative ideas about integrating technology with classic literature. Ryan Carter? Simone tried to sound casually interested. Yes, he teaches over at Lincoln High. Brilliant educator, really. He's been developing some pilot programs that could be exactly what your company is looking for. Would you like me to set up a meeting? Simone hesitated for exactly 3 seconds before nodding. That would be perfect. 2 hours later, she was sitting in a conference room at Lincoln High School, waiting for Ryan to arrive. She'd had time to change her story slightly. Now she was here because Principal Martinez had recommended Ryan specifically for the Educational Partnership Program. Was mostly true. Simone. Ryan's voice came from the doorway, and she turned to see him standing there with an expression of complete confusion. What are you doing here? Hello, Ryan, she said, standing to shake his hand professionally. Principal Martinez recommended you for a project my company is developing. Ryan stepped into the room slowly, as if he expected this to be some kind of elaborate prank. A project. Preston and Associates is looking to partner with local schools on educational initiatives. We're particularly interested in literacy programs and technology integration. She gestured to the chair across from her. Principal Martinez spoke very highly of your work. He did. Ryan sat down, still looking confused. And this has nothing to do with Emma's conversation with you the other day? Nothing at all, Simone lied smoothly. This is purely business. Ryan studied her face for a long moment, and she had the uncomfortable feeling that he could see right through her. But finally he nodded. Okay. What kind of partnership are you talking about? For the next hour they discussed education, funding, and program development. Simone found herself genuinely impressed by Ryan's passion for teaching and his innovative ideas for helping struggling students. He spoke about education the way she spoke about marketing campaigns, with intelligence, creativity, and genuine care for the outcome. The biggest problem we face is that kids don't see reading as relevant to their lives, Ryan was saying, leaning forward in his chair. They think classic literature is just old stories with no connection to their world. But if we can use technology to bridge that gap, show them how these themes are still relevant. You're talking about making Shakespeare accessible through modern media, Simone said, following his train of thought. Exactly. Video projects, social media campaigns, interactive websites. These kids are digital natives. We should be meeting them where they are. Simone found herself smiling. That's brilliant. And it would be perfect for our company's community outreach goals. Really? Ryan's eyes lit up with excitement. You think Preston and Associates would fund something like that? I think they'd love it, Simone said honestly. But I'd need to see a more detailed proposal. Could you put something together? Absolutely. Ryan was already pulling out his phone to take notes. How detailed are we talking? Timeline, budget, learning objectives. All of that. And I'd like to visit some classrooms, see the current programs in action. She paused. Would that be possible? Of course. When would you like to start? How about tomorrow? Ryan looked surprised. That's pretty fast turnaround for a corporate initiative. Simone felt heat rise in her cheeks. We're very interested in moving quickly on community partnerships. Okay, Ryan said slowly. Tomorrow it is. As they shook hands to close the meeting, Simone felt a spark of something, professional excitement, she told herself. This was going to be good for the company, good for the schools, and good for her career. The fact that it would also mean spending more time with Ryan Carter was just a side benefit. She definitely wasn't thinking about Emma's hopeful face or the way Ryan's eyes crinkled when he smiled. This was just business. Over the next 2 weeks, Simone found herself at Lincoln High School more often than her own office. What had started as a simple business evaluation had turned into something much more complex and interesting. Ryan's classroom was nothing like she'd expected. Instead of the sterile, institutional feeling she remembered from her own high school days, his room was warm and inviting. Student artwork covered the walls alongside quotes from famous authors, and comfortable reading chairs were scattered around the space in addition to traditional desks. The kids work better when they feel comfortable, Ryan explained as he led her around the room. Learning shouldn't feel like punishment. And your administration is okay with this setup? Simone asked, noting the way students naturally gravitated toward the reading corners during class. They are now, Ryan said with a grin. It took some convincing, but when test scores went up 30% last year, they stopped questioning my methods. Simone was impressed despite herself. She'd been in boardrooms with executives who had half of Ryan's passion for their work. Miss Williams. A student voice called out from across the room. Are you really going to give us money for new computers? We're exploring that possibility, Simone said diplomatically. That would be so cool, the student continued. Mr. Carter's been trying to get us better technology for forever. He even used his own money to buy some of the software we use now. Ryan's face reddened slightly. Tyler, get back to your project. After class, Simone confronted him about it. You bought classroom supplies with your own money? It's not a big deal, Ryan said, packing up his materials. Teachers do it all the time. Ryan, you're a single father working multiple jobs. Every dollar matters. He looked up at her with surprise. How do you know about the multiple jobs? Simone realized her mistake. Emma mentioned that you work hard. When did Emma tell you that? Before Simone could answer, a small voice piped up from the doorway. Because I talk to her on the phone sometimes. They both turned to see Emma standing in the classroom doorway, backpack in hand and a guilty expression on her face. Emma Rose Carter, Ryan said slowly. What do you mean you talk to her on the phone? Well, Emma said, scuffing her shoe against the floor. You know how you gave me Miss Simone's business card in case of emergencies? That was for real emergencies, Em. I know. And I had some. Like when I couldn't remember if you said to walk home or wait for Grandma to pick me up. That was an emergency because I might have gotten lost or kidnapped or something. Simone bit back a smile as Ryan looked between his daughter and her with exasperation. So you called Simone? She said to call if I needed help, Emma said defensively. And she was very helpful. She told me to stay at school and call you to make sure, which is exactly what you would have wanted me to do. Emma, Ryan sighed. How many times have you called Miss Williams? Emma held up 4 fingers. But they were all real emergencies. Like when I couldn't find my reading book, and when I forgot if you said I could have a sleepover at Madison's house, and when I wanted to know if it was okay to invite Miss Simone to my school play. You did what? Ryan's voice came out as a squeak. The play is next Friday, Emma said cheerfully. I'm playing a tree. Miss Simone said she'd try to come if she's not too busy with important business stuff. Simone felt both Ryan's eyes on her. She was very persuasive on the phone. She always is, Ryan muttered. Emma, you cannot keep bothering Miss Williams at work. She has important things to do. But she doesn't mind, Emma protested. She always sounds happy when I call. And she gives really good advice. Like when Madison was being mean to me at lunch, Miss Simone told me to try talking to her about how it made me feel instead of just being mean back. Simone's heart warmed at Emma's words, but she could see Ryan struggling with the situation. Emma, why don't you go wait for me in the hall? Ryan said gently. I need to talk to Miss Williams about business stuff. Okay, but don't take too long. Grandma's making meatloaf tonight, and you know how grumpy she gets when we're late. Once Emma was out of earshot, Ryan turned to Simone with an apologetic expression. I'm so sorry. I had no idea she was calling you. I'll make sure it stops immediately. Ryan, it's okay, Simone said quickly. She's not bothering me. Really? She's not. He looked genuinely surprised. No. Actually, Simone hesitated, then decided to be honest. I kind of look forward to her calls. She's funny and smart, and she asks really interesting questions about business and life. Ryan's expression softened. She does that. Jennifer used to say Emma was born asking, why, and never stopped. It was the first time he'd mentioned his wife voluntarily, and Simone felt the weight of the moment. She sounds like she was a wonderful mother. She was, Ryan said quietly. She would have loved watching Emma navigate the world with such confidence. Even if that confidence sometimes leads to her calling busy executives to discuss playground politics. For the record, I gave her excellent advice about the Madison situation. Ryan laughed, and Simone realized it was the first time she'd heard him laugh freely. The sound made something warm unfurl in her chest. What was the advice? I told her that sometimes when people are mean, it's because they're dealing with something difficult themselves. I suggested she try asking Madison if everything was okay at home. And? Turns out Madison's parents are getting divorced, and she was taking it out on everyone around her. Now they're best friends again. Ryan stared at her with something like wonder. That's really insightful. And kind. I have my moments, Simone said lightly, though his praise made her feel ridiculously pleased. Daddy? Emma's voice called from the hallway. Are you done with business stuff yet? I want to show Miss Simone my art project. Ryan looked at Simone questioningly. Do you have time? I mean, if you don't mind spending a few more minutes with my overly social daughter? I'd love to see her art project, Simone said honestly. As Emma dragged them both down the hallway to her classroom, chattering excitedly about her painting of a family of elephants, Simone realized something that should have been alarming. She was having more fun than she'd had in months. Maybe years. And for the first time since she'd met Emma Carter, she wasn't thinking about this as a business arrangement at all. The call came at 1:30 on a Thursday afternoon, right in the middle of Simone's quarterly budget meeting. She almost ignored it when she saw Emma's name on her phone screen, but something made her excuse herself from the conference room. Emma? What's wrong? Miss Simone? Emma's voice was small and shaky. I'm really sick, and Daddy can't come get me because he's teaching and the substitute teacher isn't there yet, and Grandma is at the doctor for her back and I don't know what to do. Simone was already grabbing her purse and heading for the elevator. Where are you, sweetheart? I'm in the nurse's office at school. Mrs. Peterson says I have a fever and I can't stay here, but Daddy says he can't leave his students alone and he's trying to find someone to cover his class, but it might take a while and I feel really bad and I'm scared. Okay, take a deep breath, Simone said, stepping into the elevator. I'm coming to get you, okay? Can you put Mrs. Peterson on the phone? 5 minutes later, Simone was speeding toward Lincoln Elementary, having somehow convinced the school nurse that she was an authorized emergency contact for Emma Carter. It wasn't technically true, but Emma's tears had been audible through the phone, and Simone couldn't bear the thought of the little girl sitting sick and alone in the nurse's office. She'd deal with the consequences later. Emma was curled up on a small cot in the nurse's office, looking pale and miserable. Her face lit up when she saw Simone, though she was clearly feeling awful. Miss Simone. You came. Of course I came, Simone said, sitting beside the cot and feeling Emma's forehead. She was definitely warm. How are you feeling, baby? My tummy hurts and my head hurts and I'm really tired, Emma said, leaning into Simone's touch. But I feel better now that you're here. Simone's heart clenched. Well, let's get you to the doctor and see what's going on, okay? The next few hours passed in a blur. Simone took Emma to the urgent care clinic, where they determined she had a stomach virus that was going around the school. Nothing serious, but she'd need rest and plenty of fluids for the next few days. By the time Ryan burst into the urgent care waiting room, looking frantic and exhausted, Emma was feeling better thanks to some anti-nausea medication and was curled up against Simone's side, dozing. Emma. Oh, thank God, Ryan said, rushing over to them. Is she okay? I'm so sorry, I got here as fast as I could. The substitute finally showed up, but then I had to find your office and they said you'd left and... Ryan, breathe, Simone said gently. She's okay. It's just a stomach bug. The doctor says she should be fine in a day or two. Ryan sank into the chair across from them, running his hands through his hair. I can't believe this happened. I should have been able to come get her immediately. I should have had a better backup plan. You had a backup plan, Simone pointed out. Emma called me, I came to get her. It worked out fine. But you shouldn't have had to, Ryan stopped, looking at Simone with a mixture of gratitude and something else she couldn't identify. Why did you come? The question hung in the air between them. Simone looked down at Emma, who was sleeping peacefully against her shoulder, and realized she didn't have a simple answer. She needed help, Simone said finally. I couldn't just leave her there. But you barely know us. You have an important job, responsibilities? So do you, Simone said quietly. And sometimes we all need backup. Ryan's eyes were suspiciously bright as he looked at his daughter. She called you Miss Simone. She's never called anyone that before. She always just uses first names. Maybe she's practicing her manners. No, Ryan said softly. She only does formal names for people she really respects. She called Jennifer's mom Grandma Helen, but she called my boss Mr. Williams even after knowing him for years. He paused. She's never had anyone outside of family to call when she needed help. The weight of that statement settled between them. Simone felt Emma stir against her shoulder and looked down to see sleepy brown eyes blinking up at her. Daddy, you're here. Emma sat up slowly, still a bit wobbly. Miss Simone took really good care of me. She held my hand when they took my temperature, and she let me pick what kind of crackers I wanted, and she didn't even look at her phone the whole time. She did all that? Ryan asked, his eyes meeting Simone's over Emma's head. She was very brave, Simone said. Even when she didn't feel good. Can Miss Simone come home with us? Emma asked hopefully. In case I get sick again? Emma, Miss Williams has her own home and her own life, Ryan said gently. She's already done more than enough. But Simone found herself speaking before she could think. Actually, I could stay for a little while. Just to make sure you're feeling better. Really? Emma's face lit up. If it's okay with your dad, Simone added quickly, looking at Ryan. Ryan studied her face for a long moment. Are you sure? I mean, you must have work. I left early anyway. And it's Friday afternoon. Simone shrugged. Besides, someone needs to make sure you follow the doctor's instructions about rest and fluids. I can take care of my own daughter, Ryan said, but there was no heat in his voice. I know you can. But maybe you don't have to do it alone. The word surprised them both. Simone hadn't meant to say something so revealing, and Ryan looked like he'd been hit by lightning. Okay, he said quietly. That would be really nice. An hour later, Simone found herself in Ryan and Emma's small but cozy apartment, helping settle Emma on the couch with blankets and pillows. The place was clearly lived in but clean, with family photos on the walls and Emma's artwork covering the refrigerator. This is where Daddy reads to me every night, Emma said, patting the couch beside her. Do you want to see my favorite book? I'd love to, Simone said, settling beside Emma as Ryan disappeared into the kitchen to make tea. As Emma showed her a well-worn copy of Charlotte's Web, Simone found herself relaxing in a way she hadn't in years. There was something so peaceful about the simple domesticity of the moment, the afternoon sunlight streaming through the windows, Emma's soft chatter, the sound of Ryan moving around in the kitchen. Miss Simone? Emma said softly. Thank you for taking care of me today. I was really scared when I got sick at school. Simone felt her throat tighten. You're very welcome, sweetheart. I'm glad I could help. Do you think? Emma hesitated. Do you think you could be like my backup person? Like if Daddy can't come and Grandma can't come? Just in case. Simone looked toward the kitchen, where she could see Ryan preparing a tray with tea and crackers. His movements were efficient but tired, and she could see the weight of single parenthood in the line of his shoulders. I think that could be arranged, Simone said softly. Emma smiled and snuggled closer to her, and Simone realized with a start that this felt like the most natural thing in the world. She was in trouble. Big trouble. Saturday morning found Simone doing something she'd never done before, standing in the cereal aisle of a grocery store, debating the nutritional merits of Lucky Charms versus Cheerios while Emma provided running commentary on each option. The marshmallows in Lucky Charms are basically pure sugar, Emma was explaining seriously, but Daddy says a little sugar in the morning gives you energy for the day. And life's too short not to have marshmallows sometimes. That sounds like something your dad would say, Simone said, smiling as she put the Lucky Charms in their cart. He says lots of smart stuff like that. Like how you should always try new things because you might discover something amazing, and how being kind is more important than being right, and how some of the best adventures happen when you're not even looking for them. Simone felt a warm flutter in her chest at that last one. She'd definitely not been looking for the adventure of getting attached to Ryan Carter and his daughter, but here she was, spending her Saturday morning grocery shopping and planning to help Emma with a school project. It had been 2 weeks since Emma's sick day, and somehow Simone had become a regular part of their weekend routine. It had started innocently enough. She'd stopped by to check on Emma's recovery and ended up staying for dinner. Then Ryan had mentioned that Emma needed help with a presentation about successful women in business, and Simone had volunteered to help. One thing had led to another, and now she was officially Emma's backup person for emergencies, homework helper for business-related projects, and apparently grocery shopping companion. She wasn't quite sure how it had happened, but she wasn't complaining. "Miss Simone," Emma said as they headed toward the produce section, "can I ask you something kind of personal?" "Sure, sweetheart. Why don't you have kids? I mean, you'd be a really good mom. You're patient and smart and you know how to make people feel better when they're sad." The question hit Simone like a punch to the gut. She'd been asked it before, usually by well-meaning relatives or nosy colleagues, but never by a child who genuinely seemed to care about the answer. "Well," Simone said carefully, "I've been really focused on my career. Building a business takes a lot of time and energy." "But you have time for me and Daddy," Emma pointed out with the logic of an 8-year-old. "That's different." "How?" Simone found herself struggling for an answer that would satisfy Emma without being too complicated. "I guess I never found the right person to have a family with." "What about now?" Emma asked innocently. "I mean, you found us." Before Simone could figure out how to respond to that loaded statement, Ryan appeared at the end of the aisle, pushing a cart and looking slightly frazzled. "There you are," he said, relief evident in his voice. "I've been looking everywhere." "Emma, you can't just wander off in the store." "We weren't wandering," Emma protested. "We were having a very important conversation about marshmallows and families." Ryan's eyebrows rose as he looked between them. "Families?" "Emma was asking me about why I don't have kids," Simone said, feeling heat rise in her cheeks. "Ah." Ryan's expression grew carefully neutral. "And what did you tell her?" "That I've been focused on my career," Simone said, avoiding his eyes. "That's not the whole answer though," Emma said matter-of-factly. "I can tell because you got that same look Daddy gets when someone asks him about dating. Like you're only telling part of the truth." Both adults stared at Emma, who continued selecting apples as if she hadn't just made an incredibly perceptive observation about their personal lives. "Emma," Ryan said slowly, "what look do I get?" "The sad but trying to pretend you're not sad look. Like when Mrs. Peterson asks if you want to go to the school dance with her and you say you're busy but really you're just scared." Ryan's face turned bright red. "Emma? What? It's true. She's asked you 3 times and you always say you have to wash your hair or something equally silly." Emma turned to Simone. "Mrs. Peterson has a crush on Daddy, but he pretends not to notice because he doesn't want to hurt her feelings but also doesn't want to date her." Simone felt an unexpected stab of something that might have been jealousy. "Oh. But I told her that Daddy's not ready to date anyone yet because his heart is still healing from missing Mom," Emma continued cheerfully. She understood. She said her heart was still healing from her divorce too, so maybe they could just be friends. Ryan looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. "Emma, you can't just discuss my personal life with people." "Why not? It all worked out. Mrs. Peterson doesn't ask you on dates anymore, and you don't have to lie about washing your hair." Simone couldn't help but laugh at the expression on Ryan's face. "Your daughter is quite the problem solver." "She's quite the something," Ryan muttered, but his eyes were fond as he looked at Emma. "I learned it from watching Daddy," Emma said proudly. "He's always solving problems for other people. Like when Tommy Richardson's parents couldn't afford to buy him new clothes for the basketball team, Daddy found some extra uniforms in the equipment room. And when Mrs. Garcia was worried about her daughter struggling in English class, Daddy started staying after school to tutor her for free." Simone looked at Ryan with surprise and growing admiration. "You do all that?" "It's not a big deal," Ryan said, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. "Teachers help students. That's the job." "Not all teachers stay after school for free tutoring," Simone pointed out. "And not all teachers find extra uniforms for kids who can't afford them," Emma added with air quotes that made it clear she understood exactly what her father had really done. Ryan's face was getting redder by the minute. "Can we please change the subject?" "Sure," Emma said agreeably. "Miss Simone, do you want to come to our house for lunch? Daddy makes really good grilled cheese sandwiches and we have tomato soup." Simone looked at Ryan, who was still looking embarrassed but was nodding encouragingly. "I'd love to," she said. "But only if you let me help cook." "Deal?" Emma said happily. "You can make the soup while Daddy makes the sandwiches. We're a good team." As they finished their shopping and headed toward the checkout, Simone found herself thinking about Emma's words. They were a good team. The 3 of them had fallen into an easy rhythm over the past few weeks, and it felt natural in a way that nothing in Simone's carefully planned life ever had. Maybe, she thought as she watched Ryan help Emma reach the cart handle, this was what she'd been missing all these years. Not just love but partnership. Not just success but connection. Maybe Emma had been right that first day in the coffee shop. Maybe Simone was exactly what this little family needed. And maybe they were exactly what she needed too. The call came at 8:30 on a Monday morning, just as Simone was reviewing the quarterly reports that would determine the next phase of her career. Her assistant's voice was carefully neutral as she announced that Mr. Preston wanted to see her in his office immediately. Simone's stomach dropped. Emergency meetings with the company's founder were never good news. 20 minutes later, she sat across from Jonathan Preston's massive mahogany desk, trying to read his expression. At 65, Preston was a legend in the marketing world, and his opinion could make or break careers. "Simone," he began, leaning back in his leather chair. "I've been watching your work on the Lincoln School Initiative." "Sir?" "It's impressive. Really impressive. The community response has been overwhelmingly positive, and the board is thrilled with the publicity we've generated." He paused, studying her face. "Which is why I'm even more excited about the opportunity I'm about to present to you." Simone felt her pulse quicken. "Opportunity?" "Seattle," Preston said simply. "We're opening a new branch office and I want you to head it up. Vice President of Western Operations. Your own team, your own budget, complete creative control." He leaned forward. "It's everything you've been working toward, Simone." The words hit her like a physical blow. VP of Western Operations. It was the promotion she'd been dreaming of for 5 years, the goal that had driven every decision she'd made since joining the company. "Seattle," she repeated numbly. "I know it's a big move," Preston continued, "but you're ready for this." "More than ready." The position comes with a 40% salary increase, full relocation package, and a guaranteed path to the executive board within 3 years. Simone's mind was spinning. This was it. This was what she'd worked so hard for. The validation of every late night, every missed social event, every relationship she'd put on the back burner for her career. So why did she feel like she was going to be sick? "When would this start?" she heard herself ask. 6 weeks. "I know it's fast, but the Seattle market is heating up and we need to establish our presence quickly." Preston smiled. "I can't think of anyone better suited for this challenge." Simone nodded automatically, her professional mask sliding into place. "It's an incredible opportunity. Thank you for thinking of me." "You've earned it, Simone. Let me know your decision by Friday?" "Of course." She somehow made it back to her office without falling apart, but once the door closed behind her, she sank into her chair and stared at the framed photo on her desk. It was from Emma's school play the week before, the 3 of them standing together backstage, Emma still in her tree costume, all of them laughing at something Ryan had said. Her phone buzzed with a text from Emma. "Miss Simone. Guess what? I got an A+ on my business presentation. Thank you for helping me practice." The text was followed by a selfie of Emma holding up her graded paper, beaming with pride. Simone stared at the photo and felt her chest tighten with an emotion she couldn't name. That afternoon, she found herself driving to Lincoln High School without really deciding to go there. She needed to think, to process what Preston had offered her, but somehow her car had taken her to Ryan instead. She found him in his classroom after school, grading papers while Emma did homework at one of the reading tables. They both looked up when she appeared in the doorway and Emma's face lit up immediately. "Miss Simone. You're early. Daddy said you probably had to work late today." "I finished early," Simone said, her voice sounding strange to her own ears. Ryan looked at her more carefully, his teacher instincts clearly picking up on something in her tone. "Everything okay?" "Fine," Simone said quickly. "Just wanted to congratulate Emma on her presentation grade." "She's been talking about it all day," Ryan said with a smile. "I think she's more excited about that A+ than I was about my first teaching award." "It was a really good presentation," Simone said, forcing enthusiasm into her voice. "You should be proud." "I couldn't have done it without your help," Emma said, coming over to hug Simone around the waist. "You taught me how to make eye contact with the audience and how to speak loud enough for everyone to hear and how to answer questions without getting nervous." Simone felt tears prick her eyes and hugged Emma back more tightly than usual. "Miss Simone?" Emma pulled back to look at her with concern. "Are you sad about something?" "No, sweetheart. Just tired." But Emma wasn't fooled and neither was Ryan. He was watching Simone with the same careful attention he'd give a student who was struggling with a difficult concept. "Emma," he said gently, "why don't you go get your backpack ready? We'll head home in a few minutes." Once Emma was out of earshot, Ryan moved closer to Simone. "What's really going on?" Simone looked at his kind, worried face and felt something crack inside her chest. "I got offered a promotion today." "That's great." Ryan's face lit up with genuine happiness for her. Congratulations. You must be thrilled. It's in Seattle. The words fell between them like stones, and Simone watched as understanding dawned in Ryan's eyes. Seattle, he repeated quietly. Vice President of Western Operations. My own office, my own team. Everything I've been working for. The words felt like ash in her mouth. Ryan was quiet for a long moment, and when he spoke, his voice was carefully controlled. When? 6 weeks. Another silence, longer this time. Ryan looked toward Emma, who was humming while she organized her backpack, oblivious to the conversation that was reshaping both their lives. You have to take it, he said finally. Do I? Simone, this is your career. Your dream. You can't turn down something like this. Can't I? Ryan looked at her sharply. What are you saying? I don't know, Simone said honestly. I don't know what I'm saying. I never expected. What? You never expected what? This, she said, gesturing between them toward Emma. I never expected to feel like this about leaving. Ryan's expression grew pained. Simone. I know, she said quickly. I know this is crazy. I know we haven't. I just didn't expect it to be this hard. You have to go, Ryan said firmly. This is your life, your career. You can't give up everything you've worked for. What if I don't want to go? You do want to go. You just think you don't right now because you're scared of change. His words stung because part of her wondered if they were true. Was she really considering giving up the opportunity of a lifetime because she'd gotten attached to a man and his daughter? Was she being foolish and emotional instead of practical and professional? Maybe you're right, she said quietly. I am right, Ryan said, but his voice sounded hollow. You belong in boardrooms and corner offices, not helping 8-year-olds with their homework. And what if I think I belong in both places? Ryan shook her head. You can't have both, Simone. You know that. Long-distance relationships don't work, especially when there's a kid involved. And I can't ask you to give up your dreams for us. What if I want to give them up? Then I won't let you. Ryan's voice was firm but gentle. Because 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you'll resent us for holding you back. And Emma and we can't survive that. We can't survive being someone's regret. Simone felt tears spill over despite her efforts to hold them back. Ryan. Daddy? Miss Simone. Emma's voice came from across the room, worried and confused. Why are you guys sad? Why is Miss Simone crying? Ryan and Simone both turned toward Emma, and Simone saw her own heartbreak reflected in the little girl's eyes. This was why Ryan was right. This was why she had to go. Because staying would mean risking Emma's heart too, and Simone couldn't bear the thought of disappointing this child who had already lost so much. Everything's fine, sweetheart, Simone said, wiping her eyes and forcing a smile. I just got some news about work that surprised me. Good news or bad news? Simone looked at Ryan, who was watching her with an expression of resignation and something that might have been love. Good news, she said finally. Really good news. For the next week, Simone threw herself into work with an intensity that surprised even her ambitious colleagues. She arrived at the office before dawn and stayed until security started locking up the building. She buried herself in reports and projections and planning documents for the Seattle position, determined to prove to herself that this was what she really wanted. She ignored Emma's phone calls. It was the hardest thing she'd ever done, but every time Emma's name appeared on her phone screen, Simone felt her resolve weaken. The little girl had called 6 times in the past 3 days, leaving increasingly worried voicemails. Miss Simone? It's me, Emma. Daddy said you're really busy with work stuff, but I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Call me back when you have time, okay? Hi, Miss Simone. It's Emma again. I drew you a picture of us at the zoo last weekend. You know, where you taught me how to take better pictures with your phone. I'll save it for you. Miss Simone, I know you're probably super busy, but I'm worried about you. And I'm worried about Daddy too. He's been really quiet since Monday, and he keeps staring at his phone like he wants to call someone but doesn't know what to say. Are you mad at us? That last message had nearly broken Simone's resolve. The idea that Emma thought she was angry with them made her stomach twist with guilt. But Ryan was right, it was better to make a clean break now than to drag out the inevitable goodbye. On Thursday afternoon, her assistant knocked on her office door with an apologetic expression. Ms. Williams? I'm sorry to bother you, but there's a little girl here to see you. She says it's an emergency. Simone's heart stopped. Emma? She says her name is Emma Carter, and she's very insistent about seeing you. Simone was out of her chair before her assistant finished speaking. She found Emma in the reception area, sitting on the edge of one of the leather chairs with her backpack clutched in her lap. She looked small and lost in the imposing corporate environment. "Emma?" Simone rushed over to her, kneeling down to Emma's eye level. "What are you doing here? How did you get here?" "I took the bus," Emma said matter-of-factly. "I remembered the address from your business card, and the bus driver was really nice and helped me figure out which stop to get off at." "Emma, you can't just take the bus by yourself. Does your dad know where you are?" Emma shook her head, looking guilty. "He thinks I'm at Madison's house. But Miss Simone, I had to come see you because something's really wrong and I don't know how to fix it." Simone felt panic rising in her chest. "What's wrong? Are you hurt? Is your dad okay?" "We're not hurt on the outside," Emma said carefully. "But I think we're hurt on the inside. And I think you are too." Simone's throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "Daddy's been sad since Monday. Really sad, like right after Mom died sad. And you haven't called me back, and when I asked Daddy if you were coming to dinner this weekend, he got that look again." "What look?" "The one that means someone he cares about is going away and there's nothing he can do about it." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Miss Simone, are you going away?" Simone felt like she couldn't breathe. "Emma?" "Because if you are, I need to tell you something really important first." Emma wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I know you didn't ask to be my backup person, and I know you didn't ask for me to call you all the time, and I know you have really important work to do." "Emma, stop." "But you became like family to us," Emma continued, her voice getting stronger. "And I know Daddy loves you, even though he won't say it because he's scared you'll leave like Mom did. And I love you too, Miss Simone. I love you so much that it hurts in my chest when I think about you not being there anymore." The tears Simone had been holding back for days finally spilled over. "Oh, sweetheart. So if you have to go away for work, I understand," Emma said, climbing down from the chair to wrap her arms around Simone. "But please don't go away without saying goodbye. Please don't just disappear like you don't care about us anymore." Simone held Emma tight, feeling the little girl's tears soaking through her silk blouse. Around them, the corporate environment that had felt like home for 5 years suddenly felt cold and lifeless. "I could never disappear without saying goodbye," Simone whispered. "And I could never not care about you. Never." "Then why haven't you called me back?" "Because." Simone struggled to find words that an 8-year-old could understand. "Because sometimes caring about someone so much that it hurts makes it hard to talk to them." Emma pulled back to look at her with those two wise brown eyes. "That doesn't make sense." "I know it doesn't. Grown-ups don't always make sense." "Are you really going away?" Simone looked into Emma's face and felt something shift inside her chest. This little girl had risked getting in trouble, had navigated a city bus system alone, had walked into an intimidating office building full of strangers, all because she was afraid of losing someone she loved. And Simone was about to abandon her for a promotion. "I don't know," Simone said honestly. "I'm trying to figure out what's best for everyone." "What's best for everyone is for you to stay," Emma said with the absolute certainty of childhood. "Because you make Daddy happy and you make me happy and I think we make you happy too." "You do make me happy," Simone admitted. "You make me happier than I've ever been." "Then why would you leave?" It was such a simple question, asked with such innocent logic, that Simone found herself struggling for an answer that didn't sound ridiculous. "Because I have a job opportunity in another city. A really good opportunity that could change my whole career." "But you could get another job here, right? You're really smart and good at business stuff." "It's not that simple, sweetheart. This is a very special opportunity." Emma was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she looked up at Simone with an expression that was far too mature for her age. "Miss Simone, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "If you take this job, will it make you as happy as you are when you're with me and Daddy?" The question hit Simone like a physical blow. She thought about the promotion, the corner office, the salary increase, the prestige. Then she thought about Saturday morning grocery runs with Emma, helping with homework at Ryan's kitchen table, the way Ryan's eyes crinkled when he laughed at something she said. "I don't know," she said quietly. "I think you do know," Emma said gently. "I think you know the answer, but you're scared to say it out loud." Simone stared at this wise little girl who had somehow seen through all her rationalizations and fears to the heart of the matter. "We should call your dad," Simone said finally. "He's probably worried sick." "Okay," Emma said. "But Miss Simone, will you think about what I said?" "I'll think about it," Simone promised. As she reached for her phone to call Ryan, Simone realized that she'd already been thinking about it. 4 days actually. And Emma was right. She did know the answer. She was just terrified to act on it. Ryan arrived at Preston and Associates 20 minutes later, looking like he'd aged 5 years in the past hour. His hair was disheveled, his shirt was wrinkled, and Simone could see the panic in his eyes from across the lobby. "Emma?" He rushed over to where they were sitting, dropping to his knees in front of his daughter. "Are you okay? Are you hurt? Don't ever do that to me again." "I'm sorry, Daddy," Emma said, throwing her arms around his neck. "I know I shouldn't have taken the bus by myself, but I was really worried about Miss Simone, and I didn't know what else to do." Ryan held her tight for a long moment before pulling back to look at her seriously. "Emma, you scared me to death. When Madison's mom called and said you weren't there, I thought..." He closed his eyes and took a shaky breath. "Promise me you will never do anything like this again." "I promise," Emma said solemnly. "But Daddy, we need to talk about Miss Simone." Ryan's eyes met Simone's over Emma's head, and she saw a mixture of exhaustion, worry, and something that might have been hope. "Maybe we should go somewhere more private," Simone suggested, gesturing toward the conference room she'd reserved for the conversation she knew was coming. Once they were settled in the conference room with the door closed, Emma launched into her explanation with the determination of someone on a mission. "Daddy, Miss Simone is going away to Seattle for a job, and she's been ignoring my phone calls because she thinks it's better for everyone if she just disappears. But that's not better for anyone, especially not for us." Ryan looked at Simone with surprise. "You've been ignoring her calls?" "I thought it would be easier," Simone said quietly. "A clean break." "Easier for who?" "For everyone. For you, for Emma, for me." "That's what grown-ups always say when they're about to hurt someone," Emma interrupted. "They say it's easier, but it's not easier. It's just scarier to tell the truth." Both adults stared at Emma, who was sitting with her arms crossed and wearing an expression that reminded Simone strongly of Ryan when he was making a point about literature to his students. "Emma," Ryan said carefully, "sometimes adult relationships are complicated." "No, they're not," Emma said firmly. "They're only complicated when people don't say what they really mean. So I'm going to say what I really mean, and then you two can say what you really mean, and then we can figure out how to fix this." Ryan and Simone exchanged glances, both clearly out of their depth. "Go ahead, sweetheart," Ryan said resignedly. "I love Miss Simone," Emma said matter-of-factly. "Not like I loved Mom, because that's different. But I love her like she's part of our family. And I think she loves us too, but she's scared to say it because she doesn't want to make mistakes like maybe her parents did or something." Simone felt her breath catch. "Emma?" "And Daddy," Emma continued, turning to Ryan, "you love Miss Simone too. I can tell because you get happy when she texts you, and you laugh more when she's around, and you don't get that sad look as much anymore. But you're scared too because you think if you love someone new, it means you didn't love Mom enough." Ryan's face had gone pale. "Emma, that's not..." "And Miss Simone," Emma turned back to Simone, "you love Daddy and you love me, but you think you have to choose between having a family and having a job, which is silly because Mom had both. She was a nurse and she was my mom, and she was really good at both things." The conference room fell silent except for the sound of Emma's slightly labored breathing from her passionate speech. Ryan was staring at his daughter like he'd never seen her before, and Simone felt like the 8-year-old had just performed surgery on her heart without anesthesia. "Is that..." Ryan's voice came out rough. "Is that how you see it, Emma?" "That's how it is, Daddy. And I know because I watch people really carefully, and I listen to what they don't say as much as what they do say." Emma looked between them with exasperation. "You're both being silly." "Emma," Simone said gently, "it's not that simple. Sometimes people want things that don't fit together." "Like what?" "Like my job in Seattle and..." Simone gestured helplessly. "And this. You and your dad and our life here." "But why can't you have both?" "Because the job is in Seattle and you're here." Emma looked at her like she was missing something obvious. "So get a different job." "Emma, it's not that easy. This is a really important opportunity." "More important than us?" The question hung in the air like a challenge. Simone found herself unable to answer immediately, which was an answer in itself. "See," Emma said as if Simone had just proven her point. "It's not more important than us. You just think it should be because that's what you've always been told. But nobody ever told you that loving people could be just as important as jobs." Ryan cleared his throat. "Emma, sweetheart, can you give Miss Simone and me a few minutes to talk alone? Are you going to tell her you love her?" "Emma? Are you going to tell him you love him?" Emma asked Simone. Emma, that's not. Because if you're not going to tell each other the truth, then I don't want to leave you alone. Someone needs to make sure you don't mess this up." Simone looked at this impossibly wise little girl and felt something crack open in her chest. You know what, Emma? You're absolutely right. Both Emma and Ryan stared at her. I do love your dad, Simone said, looking directly at Ryan. I love him so much it scares me. And I love you too, Emma. I love you both more than I ever thought I could love anyone. Ryan's eyes widened, and Emma clapped her hands together with delight. And you're right that I've been scared, Simone continued. Scared that loving you means giving up everything I've worked for. Scared that I'm not good enough to be part of your family. Scared that I'll mess it up somehow. And Daddy? Emma prompted, turning to Ryan expectantly. Ryan looked at Simone with an expression of wonder and terror. I love you too, he said quietly. I've been in love with you since that first day in the coffee shop, but I was afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that you'd leave, Ryan said simply. Afraid that I'd fall in love with you and you'd realize we weren't worth staying for. Oh, Ryan, Simone felt tears spill down her cheeks. You're worth everything. Both of you. You're worth more than any job, any promotion, any amount of money. Really? Emma asked hopefully. Really? Simone said firmly. I've been an idiot. So you're not going to Seattle? Emma asked. Simone looked at Ryan, who was watching her with an expression of cautious hope. No, she said. I'm not going to Seattle. Emma cheered and launched herself at Simone, who caught her in a fierce hug. Over Emma's head, Simone met Ryan's eyes and saw her own love reflected back at her. They were going to be okay. More than okay. They were going to be a family. 3 months later, Simone stood in the kitchen of Ryan and Emma's apartment, trying not to burn the pancakes while simultaneously helping Emma practice her lines for the school's spring musical. It was a far cry from her old life of power breakfasts and morning strategy meetings, but she'd never been happier. Miss Simone, Emma said from her perch on the counter, you're supposed to flip them when they bubble, not when they turn black. I'm multitasking, Simone said, hastily flipping a pancake that was definitely darker than golden brown. Besides, a little char builds character. That's what Daddy says when he burns dinner, Emma giggled. But we all know he just can't cook very well. I heard that, Ryan called from the living room where he was grading papers at the kitchen table. For the record, I make excellent grilled cheese sandwiches. And excellent pancakes, Simone added, sliding the questionable stack onto a plate. I'm still learning. The decision to turn down the Seattle promotion had been easier than Simone had expected, once she'd finally admitted what she really wanted. She'd stayed at Preston and Associates but had negotiated a more flexible schedule and the opportunity to develop the community education partnerships she'd started with Ryan's school. It turned out that combining business expertise with genuine passion for education was exactly the career path she'd been unconsciously searching for all along. Are you nervous about tonight? Emma asked, taking a bite of slightly burnt pancake without complaint. Tonight was the spring musical, where Emma would be performing her first solo as part of the chorus. It was also the night that Ryan had been acting mysteriously about for the past week, claiming he had a surprise for after the show. A little, Simone admitted. But I'm mostly excited. You've worked so hard on this performance. I'm not nervous about singing, Emma said matter-of-factly. I'm nervous about Daddy's surprise. He's been acting really weird lately. Like happy nervous instead of regular nervous. Simone had noticed Ryan's unusual behavior too, but she'd been too busy with work and helping Emma prepare for the musical to think much about it. Now that Emma mentioned it, though, he had been acting oddly excited about something. I'm sure it's nothing to worry about, Simone said, though she was suddenly curious. I hope it's not a puppy, Emma continued thoughtfully. I mean, I want a puppy, but I think we should talk about it as a family first. That's what Mom always said about big decisions. Emma had been talking about her mother more lately, sharing memories and stories in a way that felt healthy and natural. Simone had been careful not to try to replace Jennifer's role in Emma's life, but to create a new kind of relationship that honored what came before while building something fresh. Whatever it is, I'm sure your dad has thought it through carefully, Simone said. He better have, Emma said seriously. Because if he's planning to propose to you without asking me first, I'm going to be very upset. This should be a family decision. Simone dropped the spatula. Emma, she gasped. What makes you think? Oh please, Emma said, rolling her eyes. He's been looking at engagement rings on his computer. I saw him when I was helping him with his email last week. And yesterday he asked me what kind of flowers you like best. And this morning he was practicing a speech in the bathroom mirror. Simone felt her heart start racing. He was what? Practicing a speech. I couldn't hear all of it, but I definitely heard him say, Simone, and forever, and something about family. Also, he's wearing his lucky shirt under his sweater today. His lucky shirt? The blue one Mom bought him for their anniversary. He only wears it for really important stuff. Emma studied Simone's face with interest. You look surprised. Did you not know he was going to propose? I had no idea, Simone said weakly, sinking onto a kitchen stool. Are you happy about it? Or scared? Because you look kind of green. Simone tried to process the flood of emotions rushing through her. I'm happy. Really, really happy. And terrified. And excited. And, oh my God, Emma, what if I mess this up? You won't mess it up, Emma said with the confidence of someone who'd clearly given this a lot of thought. You're good at taking care of people, and you make Daddy laugh, and you help me with my homework without making me feel stupid. Plus, you love us and we love you. That's all the important stuff. What about the fact that I still burn pancakes and I work too much sometimes and I don't know anything about being a stepmom? Mom burned pancakes too, Emma said gently. And she worked a lot when I was little. And nobody knows how to be a stepmom until they try it. But you're already really good at being my backup person and my friend. Being my stepmom won't be that different. Simone felt tears prick her eyes at Emma's matter-of-fact acceptance. Are you okay with this? Really okay? I know it's a big change. Miss Simone, Emma said seriously, you've been part of our family since the day I asked you to marry Daddy in the coffee shop. This just makes it official. Before Simone could respond, Ryan appeared in the kitchen doorway looking suspicious. What are you two talking about? Emma, you better not be giving away any surprises. I'm not giving away anything, Emma said innocently. We're just talking about pancakes and flowers and family decisions. Ryan's eyes widened in panic. Emma Rose Carter, what did you tell her? Nothing specific. Emma protested. I just mentioned that you've been acting weird and that maybe you should include me in any big decisions because I'm part of this family too. Oh God, Ryan muttered, running his hand through his hair. This is not how I planned this. Daddy, Emma said patiently, did you really think you could keep a secret from me? I live here. I notice things. Simone stood up from her stool and walked over to Ryan, whose face was cycling through embarrassment, panic, and resignation. For the record, she said softly, I think Emma should definitely be included in any big family decisions. Ryan looked at her searchingly. You do? Absolutely. This involves all of us. Ryan took a deep breath, then looked at Emma. Can you give us just a minute? Fine, Emma said, hopping down from the counter. But don't take too long. We have to leave for school soon, and I still need to practice my solo one more time. Once Emma had disappeared into her room, Ryan turned to Simone with an expression of nervous determination. This isn't how I wanted to do this, he said quietly. I had a whole plan. After the musical tonight, I was going to take you both out for ice cream, and then we were going to come back here and I was going to... He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Simone's breath caught in her throat. I was going to tell you how much you've changed our lives, Ryan continued, his voice growing stronger. How you've brought joy back into our home and made Emma smile in ways I haven't seen since her mother died. How you've made me believe in love again, in the possibility of building something beautiful with someone. He dropped to one knee right there in the kitchen, among the burnt pancakes and scattered homework papers. Simone Williams, he said, opening the box to reveal a simple, elegant ring that was absolutely perfect. Will you marry us? Will you be Emma's stepmom and my wife and help us build the kind of family where everyone belongs? Simone looked down at this man who had somehow become her whole world, then toward Emma's room where she could hear the little girl singing softly to herself. Yes, she said, laughing through her tears. Yes, absolutely yes. As Ryan slipped the ring onto her finger, Emma's voice rang out from her bedroom. Did she say yes? She said yes. Ryan called back, standing up to kiss Simone properly. Finally, Emma shouted, and they could hear her feet hitting the floor as she ran toward them. Can I see the ring? Is it pretty? When's the wedding? Can I help plan it? Can I be in it? Emma burst into the kitchen and threw her arms around both of them, creating a group hug that felt like coming home. So, Emma said, pulling back to examine Simone's ring with approval, now you're going to be my official mom, not just my backup person. If that's okay with you, Simone said. It's perfect, Emma said firmly. Because now when people ask me about my family, I can tell them I have a dad who teaches kids and makes terrible pancakes, and a mom who runs marketing campaigns and burns pancakes, and we're all really good at taking care of each other. That sounds like a pretty amazing family, Ryan said, kissing the top of Emma's head. The best family, Simone agreed, looking at her ring and feeling her heart overflow with happiness. 6 months ago, she'd been a workaholic executive with no time for relationships and no interest in children. Now she was an engaged woman who couldn't wait to officially become a wife and mother. Sometimes, Simone thought, the best adventures really did happen when you weren't looking for them. But the very best adventures she'd learned happened when a brave little girl asked you to marry her dad in a coffee shop, and you were smart enough to say yes.